Does anybody have any questions before I start? No? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start just based off the list of who's in order. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Orlando. Okay, the first question, Orlando, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you're
Okay.
not muted. And then the first question is going to be, how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Yeah, sure. So I think personally, my platform is threefold. First, I think we need to reform ASUCR to really advocate for basic needs and for political advocacy, which is really something that affects all colleges and UCR as a whole. We need to reform it. So I think it reflects my college because you need to have all three of my platforms, both reforming ASUCR, fighting for basic needs, both textbook security and food security, and also fighting for student advocacy to really build a cohesive force to fight for what students need in this campus.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, the next person is going to be the same question. I'll go ahead and repeat it. And then just a reminder, if you're not answering a question, go ahead and keep your audio muted. And then once I call your name, go ahead and unmute yourself, okay? So same question, it's going to be for Sebastian Quinteros. The question is, how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Yeah, so I believe that my platform accommodates for the most pressing issues on campus simply because they deal with the ability of students to excel to their peak potential. For one, campus safety is an issue where we are not doing enough. Some students need to feel more safe going to classes, especially at night. We also have things like course registration, which are a big problem, which affect not only the college that I am running for, but the other colleges as well. And those obviously pose a bit of an existential threat in the sense that students are put into positions where they're not able to take the classes that they need, and then it could potentially harm their ability to get their financial aid, which um, some of us may know our students depend heavily on financial aid in order to attend UCR.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Next question is going to go to Alyssa Marchin. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Okay. So for my college, it's for CHASS. I think my platform is Our Kids, Our Future, non-traditional. So my platform is focused mostly around student parents, but also just any non-traditional groups such as underground scholars, foster youth, student veterans, and they make up all the colleges, not just CHASS, but also CNAS, BCOE, GSOE. And I think it's just a pressing issue because education should be a system built for everybody and everyone should have an equal opportunity, access, and resources. Yet non-traditional students are often overlooked and marginalized and they don't get the same resources because either it's not because we're putting ourselves out there enough, we need to bring more awareness. So my platform is going to be trying to build that, like bridge the gap between non-traditional and traditional students and making everyone feel like ASUCR is a safe space and a comfortable space for them.
Right. Thank you.
But yeah.
Oh, go ahead, keep going. You're good.
But I was just gonna say, like statistically speaking, too, UCR has the highest population of student parents, undergraduates, 1.7%. Yet we don't have a student parent center like other UC, so I think that's a big issue that I want to address.
Right. Thank you. Next question, same question for Christopher Kent. So how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Christopher, and my platform is based on the main values of accessibility, communication, and transparency. And I think that a pressing issue that many students feel, along with Orlando, he's voiced this, is reforming ASUCR. And I think that those three core values, which I can get into later in the debate, are all related to reforming it as we need to be more open to all students. And I think the biggest need is obviously just basic needs. I think that's something that all students should be able to get, and yet there's still the fear of not being able to obtain those resources. So yeah, thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Next question is going to go to David Ann. So how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
I would say two things. Number one is inclusivity, and number two is advocacy for basic needs, as everyone stated. I'll start on the second one first. I believe it's very important and imperative for us to expand our pantry system and food support system, increasing the SNAP benefits and increasing awareness to those benefits is very important because not many people actually know even about the programs that they are accessible to. And second, inclusivity. I'd say in this democratic republic system of ASUCR, what we need to have is inclusivity of all peoples, and therefore lowering the GPA requirement from 2.5 to 2.0 would be a way to not only include more people in the scope of people that are allowed to be running, but also not have a hindrance of a blockage of where intellectual capability and achievement is a requirement for being part of a democratic system.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Next question is going to go to Elizabeth. I'm not sure the last name, it's not showing up. Elizabeth? Yes.
Sorry,
You're
that was
okay.
delayed.
No, you're good. So how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Well, I kind of want to start with a little bit of background first. So I came in actually as a transfer student in my junior year. So I'm kind of similar to Alyssa's, where I'm kind of dealing with the non-traditional kind of thing, but I feel like mine's more focused on the transfers, because I feel like especially those who come in later, like I did, it's kind of hard because they don't really know what's going on. They have like this kind of like freshman mentality, like they don't know what's going on, but at the same time, they're trying to deal with these upper classes. I feel like that we really need to focus on those transfer students coming in late, because I know I had a lot of trouble coming in, just figuring out registering for classes and that kind of stuff. So I would have to say it's one of the top ones, but I would go as well as with transparency, because I was a senator at my community college, and I know that it's a lot of trouble trying to get out the information to the people, because they're not so much like oh, we don't know what's going on, but we have this stuff available if you just look at it. So yes, I would say that after the transfer and non-traditional, I would have to say transparency is a really important thing as well. I think I got that. It's good.
Perfect. Okay, next is going to be for Gabe Pineda. How does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Well, hello. So this year, my slogan is actually Strive for Equity. And the reason why it's Strive for Equity is because I believe within my campaign, I want to be able to advocate for all UCR students to have an equitable education. And what that means is to be able to have an equal opportunity to academically succeed at UCR, and to be able to obtain their basic needs. So my three platforms underneath my Strive for Equity are basic needs, student retention, and diversity. We go to UCR, and right now, studies have shown 6 out of 10 students have been found to be food insecure. But whilst out of the whole UC, it's only 4 out of 10 students. So at UCR, food insecurity is a really big issue. And so for me, I think within CHASS, what I want to do is to create some type of events that we can put food into the stomachs of our students. We have students that are going to bed hungry. We have students that don't have food in their fridges, and that's unacceptable. Additionally, I want to work on student retention within CHASS. So fixing registration issues, fixing the ability to have reliable academic staff and academic advisors. Additionally, I want to be able to fix the Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi is a mess. And lastly, diversity. I want to be able to bring in an aspect of an inclusive and safe environment in ASUCR. I think constantly we're leaving people out of conversations. I think we're sweeping people underneath the rug and telling them they do matter, but my campaign is aiming to tell them they do matter. They are important and they are meaningful, and their existence at this university is extremely important to me, and it should be important to everybody in student government. But yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Last question, I believe, is for Sebastian Quinteros. So how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face? Sebastian?
Oh, sorry, I thought I had my mic on.
No, you're
I
good.
believe you.
Yeah, you already went, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think I got everybody. Did anybody not go for this question? Juan, right? Juan Morales. Okay, so it's your turn. It is, how does your current platform accommodate for what is, in your opinion, the most pressing issues students of your college face?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm running on the platform of Acknowledge, Act, and Represent. I believe that as a CHASS student, and then also having a close connection to a sister who is a non-traditional student at a different university, being a mom and also a student, makes me and gives me inspiration to go above and see the necessities that students face on campus, because I feel like you may have those students who face it themselves, but when you have support from students who want to support those other students, that's part of my platform, is to support. I know Alyssa is running on same platform, and I appreciate that she's bringing to the light, non-traditional transfers. So my focus is on non-traditional transfers, commuters, first generation students, because yes, we talk about non-traditional students, but I also want to talk about the commuter students, which are students who are often, underrepresented. We have over a large portion of over 73% of our students on campus happen to be commuters. Yes, it can be, there's a lot of campus apartments or off-campus apartments that are very close, but it still considers them, off-campus or commuters. But there's a large span of students that need to be represented, because, some of them come to school, they go to their classes and they don't find a place for them, or of them being represented, their voice being represented. So they go back home and they have no sense of motivation to get involved in the direct necessities that impact them. So that's also why I'm representing commuters. For me, my platform, I really went and dug deeper into acknowledging not only that people, considering them just people, I want to also go ahead and dig deeper and acknowledging that they're students. Because when you start to acknowledge that they're students, you realize the benefits or the necessities that they need, the resources that they need, whether that be registration, whether that also be the art pantry, being food insecure, whether that be getting a representation in ASUCR. So there's a big difference between just saying, oh, I'm one for the people, and saying that you're one for the students. So that's why my slogan is with the students and for the students, because I acknowledge those needs, and I also want to be that representation in ASUCR.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, the next question is going to be, as senators are required to complete at least one senator project. So I want to ask you guys what major projects you plan to work on if you are elected as a senator. So I'm going to go ahead and start again with Orlando.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Go ahead.
So I mean, I have a lot of ideas and experience to really bring to the table in terms of like different platforms and different ways to help the students. For example, I've been in contact with basic needs advocates across campus, and I think that we need to shift ASUCR more towards focusing on basic needs efforts. For example, the R Garden, they told me that they need more volunteers. I think an easy thing that we can do is use our emailing list to say like, hey, you want to volunteer, it's fun, and collect food for basic needs efforts. I was also talking to Megan Halpert from The Well. She was telling me about the kitchen that they're building on the third floor of the hub. So And the one thing that's stopping them from actually opening up that kitchen is some bureaucratic rule about having like a solid door in between registering students for CalFresh and the kitchen itself. So I think we need to put a spotlight on that as well, and also, empower the our feed committee and the basic needs committee in ASUCR, so that we have a more stable line of connection between the two, because ASUCR has a lot of resources and has a lot of manpower. So I think that if we're able to conjoin the two, we're going to be able to serve a lot more students with their food insecurity, but also textbook insecurity.
Okay, thank you. Next is going to be Alyssa. And I'm going to repeat the question. So what major projects do you plan to work on as a senator if you are elected?
Okay. So my main project is going to be focused on student parents. So currently I'm the Our Kids treasurer. And one big thing that we've been trying to do is just gain statistics and demographic information that we can take to the chancellor. But of course, it is always hard to get a meeting with anyone in administration. So being a CHASS senator has an advantage to talk to people up in the administration office. So taking that and starting that conversation with him so that we can at least start something small, whether it's just a room in the hub that is geared towards a study room for student parents, or to something big such as building a student success center like other UCs have. But that would be my main focus. And then as well as just getting statistics information from anyone that also needs help with that, such as underground scholars. I know that they need more awareness and they need those statistics. So being able to bring that forth to the table. And then second, if you guys have heard of the Equal Opportunities Referendum that got shut down recently by administration, but that was to allocate $2 of tuition fees every quarter towards the marginalized communities I have mentioned before. And I want to be able to also bring that back in so that I'm able to possibly put that on the ballot, and it'll be in like perfect writing where it doesn't get shut down again, and being able to have those conversations with all these marginalized communities is my main focus, because they also are part of all the big things such as basic needs and food insecurity and housing. So just making sure that non-traditional students are put into that spotlight. They have someone in office that's able to share their voice. But yes, I want to leave UCR knowing that at least student parents have a sense of belonging and they feel comfortable where they're at.
Perfect.
But that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is going to be Christopher Kent. What major projects do you plan to work on as a senator if elected?
Hi, so this question's answer actually goes to one of my core values, the communication one. I have always wanted, or I've wanted to host a town hall if I became a senator, just because I do feel that when voicing your concerns currently at ASUCR, the main way to do it is at a Senate meeting. And at a Senate meeting, it takes a lot of courage to actually get to the podium. And I know a couple of us have actually been able to go up to the podium. But for the many who have not wanted to, or maybe don't have the time to, I would like to host a virtual town hall, which would actually be really good considering the situation we are in, along with having an anonymous suggestion box. So it might seem a little juvenile, but to be honest, we know that the best suggestions are the ones that are anonymous, because that's where people feel that they have the courage to really put out what they want to say. So I feel like that's how we could get the most transparency and communication between the student body and our representatives here. And as a senator, I would love to partner up with some fellow senators, hopefully some of y'all, to organize this town hall and really get what the students want to work on in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. Next is going to be David Ann. What major projects do you plan to work on as an ASUCR senator if you are elected?
Oh, well, one of the biggest projects I'll be working on would be to have guest speakers and elected officials come speak to us. I've had the personal experience of actually listening to California Representative Mark Takano talking about basic needs, the current state of the state, and all that. And I feel like it's very important for us as college students to be functioning members of the society, and therefore listening to what public officials have to say, listening to what our elected members have to say is very important to me.
Awesome. Thank you. Next is going to be Elizabeth. What major projects do you plan to work on if you are elected as an ASUCR senator?
Like Juan said, what I originally wanted to do when I came in was actually having to do with the kind of commuters, how that there's students off campus and that there's some that are barely off campus, but yet they can't get like escorts. So if we could like extend that line, that was originally what I was gonna do. But I feel like now that we're online, I guess I can find a different focus. I don't know. Still thinking about that. But I have to say, I really go back to the transfers and the ones coming in. If we can somehow like have, I know they have programs because I'm kind of familiar with them, but if we can have some sort of like, I don't know, like how to word this. Like some other form of communication to tell them exactly what to do. Because I know I came in confused of how am I going to register for classes, and they only had like one day to help, and the counselors were hard to find. I would really like to see if we can have like more resources available to the transfer students so that they know what they're coming into, which we can also extend to the non-traditional as well. So I mean, I'm for that. I'm just going to keep talking. Also, another thing, I don't know if ours could do it. I know my community college often had having to do with the town hall mentioned, but they had like meetings where you could like meet with the senators and they offered food. I don't know if that sounds like a good idea, but obviously we can't do it now because of the online thing, but in the future. So that's pretty much all the stuff that's going in my head. Sorry, that was kind of rambly.
No, you're good. Okay. Next is going to be Gabe Pineda. Same question. What major projects do you plan to work on if you are elected as a senator?
Hello again. So for me, actually, what I want to do, so again, two of my platforms, student retention, basic needs, and another one is diversity. And so what I want to do with student retention is I actually want to create a big event where students in CHASS and within SOPA can meet their academic advisors again. And the reason why I say again is because last time I worked in Highlander orientation, and I found that students, most of them actually just meet their academic advisor once. And that's during orientation and won't see them maybe until their second and third year. So I want to implement some type of event where ASUCR will provide like some type of luncheon for the academic advisors and academic staff, but also CHASS and SOPA students, because I want to acknowledge that when we're running as CHASS senator, we're also running to represent the School of Business as well. So that's something I would want to implement. And then as for basic needs and diversity, I've been thinking about this question a while. It's like, what can I do as a CHASS senator that's not already being done? Because we have a lot of students at our university that are already advocates for basic needs and diversity. We look at our leaders in Coastal Hall, we look at our leaders in all over our school. So what I would want to do is to kind of reshift how ASUCR is looking at their events and looking at how they're doing their giveaways and stuff, right? Last quarter, we had given away AirPods, right, to promote ASUCR. And I think from what I can see is that doesn't necessarily include every student, right? Not every student has the accessibility to have a phone. And, not every student has an iPhone. So why aren't we giving away grocery cards? Why aren't we giving away, gas cards? Real things that students can be using in their daily lives. So one of my projects would be kind of to redistribute and kind of to open our minds to other student needs that are really happening on the ground level. But yeah.
Thank you. Next is going to be Juan Morales. What major projects do you plan to work on as a senator if you are elected?
Thank you. So for me, I do realize and understand that a lot of the resources we have can be found on campus, such as like professors and experts, researchers who can be part of a group of panelists. And so when I talk about this, it's a big event where it would be similar to something that Chicano Student Programs already does, which is a part of their Semana de la Mujer, where they bring out Latina Chicana professors to speak to students who can identify to their narratives. But for me, I would really want to stretch out the invitation to professors who can speak about food and food insecurities. I'm currently taking a class on that, so I know there's a professor who would be willing to do that. There's also professors who perhaps have the same narrative as being a student parent while they were in college. So I think that that's a great opportunity to do. And while having this large event, being able to expand the communication to students that if they're willing to come and they want to donate something, go ahead and do so. Because I know we have large events like when we give out our gear, and in the past we used to do them bringing donations. And sometimes it was, you know, if you were a junior or senior, you would bring it in order to be able to receive one. I know we went ahead and took that out, but I want to make sure to kind of like shift it the same way that Gabe kind of really went ahead and mentioned, is reshift the way that ASUCR does things to accommodate to more current and modern issues that our students are facing. So having that large event where we bring professors who can identify, who students can identify to their narratives, while also having some kind of contribution where students can go ahead and participate in, because these small contributions, let's say you only get maybe 50 to 100 items, they still help out, you know, our kids, they still help out our commuters, they still help out our transfers in the little ways that they can. And so I really want to go ahead and open that opportunity for our students to participate, because that's something I definitely want to advocate for, is for our very own students on campus, is to get involved in ASUCR matters.
Awesome. Okay, I believe the last one is for Sebastian. What major projects do you plan to work on as a senator if you are elected?
One of the major projects that I will be working on in particular has to do with campus safety. I feel like it's often overlooked, and it's a very essential thing that we need to secure as student leaders, because we shouldn't have to essentially look over our shoulders when we go to class past sunset. I don't think that that's the environment that we should allow. And part of the project that I plan to, I guess, sort of devise is bolstering the student services dealing with campus safety, in particular the escort service. I've actually met with I believe the head of that service. There's a lot of issues with the service being able to actually be there for the students, and a lot of people don't really know how to even reach the escort service, and that's obviously a problem, and that's something that I would like to work on. I know that others, I think this year, have worked on it, and if anything, I would definitely like to carry on where they left off and really enforce that we have these services available and that our campus is safe, regardless of what time of day it is.
Okay, I'm going to go on to the next question. Also, there's a chance that the Zoom meeting might kick us out after 40 minutes, so I'm going to encourage you guys to try to keep your answers a little shorter. Usually the time will show up, but it's not showing up, so I'm not sure if it'll kick us out or not, but yeah, try to keep the answers a little short just in case we do get kicked out. So the next question is, AACCR's reputation has not been the best over the past few years. How do you individually plan on fixing this image problem? And is this something that can be fixed within only a year? Yeah, see, it's telling us that we only have a few more minutes left for the meeting. So we're gonna go ahead and start again with Orlando.
Oh, okay. So yes, ASUCR's image is not good. And the reason is because there's a lot of self-service in the institution. We need to systematically cut it out. And, you know, I've already been on the warpath on that. I've been fighting for the past year now, you know, passing legislation. I remember one piece bars individuals from personally profiting off of stipend increases that they vote for. I think it's completely immoral to raise your own stipend and profit off of it. But I think ultimately we need to bring students together to fight for a better government, because as long as voter turnout is so low, the institution will not get better. So I think ultimately we need to amend the Constitution, you know, to solidify anti-corruption laws and, you know, cutting out self-service,
Awesome.
in our student government.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna go to Alyssa next, and go ahead and try to keep your answers as short as possible.
Okay, so for me, what I would personally do, because I know for senators, they're only limited to about 2 hours a week for office hours, and I don't think that that's enough time, and I don't think we should expect people to come to us. I think we also need to do our part in reaching out to them, whether that's going to lecture halls and asking, because one person in that room can bring up something that everyone thinks about but doesn't talk about, or whether it's going to the different coastal halls more often and asking what is it that you need from us, just reaching out, because as a senator, that is what we're trying to get elected for, not for the stipend, not for the resume booster. So just in the end, it's about putting people in office that are true to their platform and will hold themselves accountable and stay true to hitting the constituents that they are running on. So just keeping that promise.
Perfect. Thank you. Christopher, Kent.
Hi, my answer will be kind of short just because I feel like I did answer something like in the last question regarding my project, which would be a virtual town hall or a town hall in person. I just think the image of ASUCR has definitely not been great as of recent. I do want to give a quick shout out to all of the people that are a part of ASUCR currently. Everybody has just been working so hard, and a lot of things go on behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see, specifically committees and groups like Lobby Corps. I know a lot of them don't get paid, but they do put their tooth and nail into working hard to get stuff for the school and their students. But all of the unsung heroes inside of ACCR, y'all are amazing. I know elections committee too, the people running this election, the committee members don't get any kind of payment. In fact, last year I was a polling coordinator and it was super crazy in person, so I can only imagine what you're dealing with right now. So I just wanted to give my answer, just a quick shout out to everybody that's part of ASUCR because y'all are really killing it. Yo.
Thank you. Next is going to be David Ann.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, of course. So ASUCR's reputation has not been the best over the past few years. How do you individually plan to fix this image problem? And is this something that can be fixed within just a year?
I talked about this earlier a bit before. Advocating for the GPA requirement of 2.5 right now to lower be 2.0. That would not only increase the amount of people that are able to run, but the people who are run and chosen, let's say a student with a 2.0, they have their specific communities and they have their own different circles that which are their constituents that they can talk to and see the needs of those students and not just the students who are excelling in those academic fields. And therefore including the candidates who come from different backgrounds and diversifying the candidacy, the candidates itself will be a way to have a more transparent and clear line of communication between the students and the elected officials.
Okay, Elizabeth? And then just a reminder, we only have about 5 minutes left in the meeting.
I can talk fast.
No, you're good.
So yes, as I mentioned before, I would want to deal with the transparency where I'm going with Christopher's too. I'm sorry, I'm keep on stealing from y'all. Where we'd want to actually go and meet with the people and actually talk to them instead of just being sitting in the office. I know I keep referencing my community college, but that was a volunteer position, and I often would go and randomly ask people oh, what do you think about this? It's not necessarily the, I do appreciate that ASUCR has been doing because I've been listening with the stipend stuff. I do appreciate that. But yes, I think it'll take more than a year, but I think we can make good progress within the year.
Okay, Juan?
I'm sorry, was that me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I definitely want to first and foremost acknowledge all of these candidates that are running for senators because I have realized a big change over the last couple of years, especially this year in itself. I'm a third year. The student representation has more specific and concrete goals for the way to shift ASUCR. And I feel like this span of candidates for CHASS senator have really great goals that I really want to see implemented. And so I feel like we've already gone ahead and done step one, which is having candidates who have strong advocacy for specific matters, such as like transfers, non-traditionals. I know Alyssa's doing a lot of that. I admire Gabe going ahead and bringing up food insecurities. I really like Christopher going ahead and talking about communications, Orlando about bringing less legislation and things like that. So I first and foremost want to say that we have done step one of going ahead and running as CHASS senators with specific goals to shift ASUCR. I feel like, of course, it really is about what we go ahead and do in office that will eventually shift the way that ASUCR becomes. So after that, let's just hope that we have a wonderful year and we do the best to be able to do as much as we can in 1 year.
Awesome. Okay, Gabe Pineda.
So I'm actually known for acknowledging the corruption and the mess that is ASUCR. And I want to say that in my campaign, I've made 2 plans. One interpersonally and one is a systematic change. Interpersonally, us as senators get the power to vote in who is in the offices of each of the executive cabinet members. And from what I've seen in my involvement in ASUCR, these executive cabinet members hire their friends, right? And my issue is that is it the Associated Students of Best Friends or is it the Associated Students of UCR? So one of my big things I'm going to try to implement is to making sure that ASUCR is reflected of the entire student body, not just a particular population. And then as the systematic change, ASUC Irvine has implemented special interest senators like a senator for communities and a senator for transfers. And so that's something I would want to work on next year. It's to trying to amend the Constitution so we can add these special interest seats into the Senate so their voices can always be heard even after we leave office.
Thank you so much. Last one is going to be Sebastian, and then we'll go ahead and be ending the meeting.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, no problem. It is over the past few years, the reputation of ASUCR hasn't been the best. How do you individually plan to fix this image problem?
For me, it's something that it's a litmus test in the sense that every single candidate running, regardless of what college, what position, they have to first and foremost have stated that they're going to ensure that the student government is accountable and transparent. Just yesterday, I remember I was going around campaigning on various social medias, and it's very apparent that the faith and trust that the students have on the student government has completely eroded. And we need to fix that. If we have any ambitions in the student government, we need the students because we derive the power from them. And us alone, we can't do these things. We need to remind them that they can have faith, they can trust us, that we will deliver on these things. But we also have to make sure, not only in what we're saying, but also the actions, that we will hold ourselves accountable and that we will inform them as much as possible in every single thing that we are doing, because at the end of the day, these things do impact them.
Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and end the meeting. The video will be posted soon, okay?